everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Zingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. How is everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great Labor Day and had an awesome Labor Day weekend. It's the funniest when you don't realize like a spell error until you like go live and then you're like, oh crap, I misspelled my name. So
you misspelled your name?
Yeah, I just did it real fast. I just put Alex and Jeff drop some knowledge on Labor Day. That was what the title of the stream was. And I go JFF.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, hilarious. That's a little funny.
Yeah, so it's just like, I didn't misspell anybody else's name but my own. So yeah. Anyways, how is everyone doing? If you guys are joining us tonight, get in the comments. We are going to do some Labor Day learning and have some fun. I know everyone is doing fun stuff, cookouts, things like that, watching sports, watching wrestling. There's been some fun things
on Labor Day.
No, not usually. I mean, sometimes we do. This weekend was just really my first weekend home in a long time, so it was kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, it's been busy as well. So
when we get the other side of when we get one side of the family, my stepdad's side, when they cook out, they just find a reason, find an excuse. It could just be a random Saturday afternoon. They're gonna do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually it's hot links and pork chops. It's gonna be like that. Yeah.
My brother loves cooking out. Like that's his thing. And he says it's time to do some Doss burgers or some smash burgers or whatever. And
what's a Doss? Wait, when he makes a Doss burger, what is that?
It's his special seasoning he puts on the burger. I don't know.
Because everybody does something a little different, like when they really get into it. They got a thing.
Right.
Okay, like my dad, right? A lot of people don't know this, right? I think I've told you before. My dad is a world-class chef, right? He really is.
Yes.
Right. And I think I've mentioned this one before too, that at one point, I think still, but I don't know, he hasn't made it in so long, that he had the world record for the largest 100% edible gingerbread house. 7 feet tall,
that's right.
6 feet wide, that's 6 feet deep. He keeps threatening to make it. And I'm like, where the heck are you going? Where are you going to put this, Dad? My basement? Sorry, not going to happen. So he's always like, yeah, that's always the thing. Where are you going to do it? And so usually he'll be like, hey, XYZ resort, why don't I and you supply and then you can advertise, and then we just like, all right, so cool, But anyway, he's always like, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna do that thing, and he would make monster wings, and I'm like, okay, explain. And he's like, yeah, everybody does a chicken wing this, everybody does a chicken wing that. How many different times are you gonna have chicken wings? I'm like, yes, but chicken wings are amazing, Dad. All right. It's a great formula. He goes, let's just make it with turkey. And I'm like, all right, still a bird. I'm following. And he just, I don't know what this guy does. I've literally watched him in my kitchen before with like just basic ingredients. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this is going to suck. And it never does.
It never does. It's
always amazing. And I'm like, how? I literally watched what you picked out. And when you were picking that out, in my head, I didn't dare say it. In my head, I'm like, why in the world would you pick this? If that's available, what would make you go with that? But that just goes to show you how little I know in comparison to what he does. That apparently it's not just the ingredients you make, it's how you do it. So, yeah. And I'm just like, I don't even know, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Insiders in the comments, put down like your favorite, it could be just cookout foods, like grill out foods or something that maybe is your special, is it wings? Is it burgers? Is it hot dogs? Is it pork chops or ribs? What is it?
If my mom is in the chat, which sometimes she is.
Yeah, she probably
is. All right. This is the Italian side. Okay. So when our family, when there's like a thing, right? Definitely if it's like Easter or anything like that, like that's major, but it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be Tony's in town today. All right.
Mhm.
We're going to make pasta funo. Okay. I don't totally know how to make it. And when I say I don't totally know how to make it, it means I don't know how to make it at all. Right.
All right.
Just explained how I can look at what the stuff my dad got and go, this is going to be horrible. And it wasn't. So it wouldn't even matter if I knew everything. Okay. So everybody in my family has made it except for me, even Lindsay. All right. But my mom told Lindsay how to make it. Now she's made it and she makes a really good one. All right. So where I'm going, every time we would make this pasta. So when my brother was an active Marine, when he would come home, my mom would make 2 like big like pasta sheets full of them, right? And it wouldn't be no more than just 5 people at the house, maybe. She's still gonna make 2 because she knows I'm gonna be there, right? No, hand up. Let's put the right hand up. Straight. I promise this is the truth. My brother Adam, he's home, and I'm like so excited he's home. 2, 1, he's home. 2, I get pasta funo as much as I want. So I literally take like a serving like plate and I just mound this thing full of it. And he says to me, and he goes, "Why would you do that? That's just stupid." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is pasta funo. What's not to get?" And he goes, "You're gonna waste all that. You're gonna heat all that up and you're not gonna eat it." I'm like, "Of course I'm going to eat all of this. Like, what are you talking about?" And it's listen, it's mound, right? And it's like a serving plate. And he goes, "I bet you $5 you don't eat all that." Go, time out. Are you about to give me $5 to eat the free food I was already going to eat? And by the way, it's my favorite food. This is the worst $5 you've ever thrown away in your life. This is horrible. Yes, thank you. I'll take that 5 right now. Sit back and watch. Yeah, it was amazing. So
wow, that's
a lot of different ways to make it. I actually think I've seen a recipe for. I think I've seen one before. So if anybody's like, "What is this pasta?" I have to look it up. I think I've heard it called like pasta alla funo before. So look it up if you guys feel like I got to hear about this. Give it a look. You can make it with different noodles too.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about. We're having some fun. Labor Day learning. No days. Yeah, no, not today. No days off. I had the whole day off, so finish up the night with this. I just taught a couple of virtual lessons and then right to the show. So, all right, big thing that happened over last week and was the WKF Junior Pan American Championships as well as the WACO Junior World Championships. So, congrats to Team USA. Congrats to Team Canada. Congrats to competitors from Mexico, Guatemala. There's so many that we know and we have competed against who were there as coaches or whose children were winning world championships. So it was really cool. First off, I want to talk about the WKF Pan Ams. Congrats to Emerson Cottingham, who was a part of the silver medal teen kata division. So they got silver in that. And then I think the boys from America won the team kata for that. So a big shout out. There's a lot of other competitors there as well. But she was one of the main ones from the circuit, as well as the Pan American. That's 2 years in a row, I believe, that Matthew Grushia won. So Leandro says beef ribs. So Matthew Grushia from Canada won again. He's been on our show before. He's also been on the Traditional Way. So he's a great friend of the Martial Arts Center Network. And so congrats to those guys. There's so many other competitors. But I want to give a shout out in a second to someone who kind of really has been paving the way in that. We're going to go back to that in a second, but let's go to the WACO, where we had a big USA team. you know, have you seen Rob yet? Has he returned yet? Is he?
Well, I would have seen him today.
Oh, right,
But
right. Gotcha.
no, yeah.
He's probably
So
he might have just gotten home. I don't know. Some are still
right.
visiting and everything and doing stuff. So I believe overall this is a big successful week for USA. You know, a lot of the team members medaled. There was a lot of bronzes and silvers. There were some gold medals. Guys, if you guys know all the results or certain people, give them some shout outs. You know, there was you know, a lot of our competitors, you know, we had people from Legend, we had people from Diamond, we had, you know, Sophia Rodriguez that was there competing. We had competitors that were there for kicklight, kickboxing, everything. I know we won a couple kickboxing world championships and some point fighting championship and some forms and weapons championships. So it was a great way. I think one of our boys' teams got silver in teams. So overall, it was a great week for USA and the growth of USA Waco. So let's see. There was a lot of, you know, what's cool with this whole thing is that, yes, we are growing, but one of the countries that I want to get a big shout out to that's grown as far as their like success in Waco is Mexico. Mexico is someone that would go and not, you know, medal or anything like that. And now in their teams, in their juniors, they're getting championships, world championships, forms, weapons, the point sparring, the continuous, you know, in the ring sports. And then another one as well is Guatemala. All right. One of my great friends, Andres Garcia, who is an amazing fighter, NBL legend. He's won I think he won a kick light was what he won his world title in for Waco. His son won a world championships, right? You also have Colocho and his wife, their son get medaled, you know, in the world championships. It's really cool to just see all these different people. You have Bill Viola's daughter who's medaling in the championships, you know. It's fun to see. Oh, Sam's son, I believe his son.
Oh yeah,
So
I keep forgetting his name.
So yeah, it was awesome. Ibrahim says Venezuela. So yeah, I mean, listen, there was a lot of great competitors that were out there competing. Puerto Rico had, you know, a couple medals as well. Like it's a big step up for a lot of these countries that if we would have said 10 years ago, they didn't even have a team, or maybe they had 5 competitors that went. And now to see that growing in the North American area, as well as just the whole Pan-American region, is pretty awesome. That's true.
Yo,
Guatemala
Mike
the best
is right on.
Dude,
Guatemala does have the best uniforms. Those things
for years,
are awesome.
For years. Even back in the NBL days in the 90s, man, they had some uniforms that no one could even make. They were so crazy.
Yeah. Let's stay. Can we stay on this for just like 2 minutes? Is that all right?
Of course.
So I love Mike. You are 100% right on. Those uniforms are awesome. And I'm always kind of torn, you know, because when you go to a world championship, when you go to a world, you know, class tournament, it is kind of in the culture and customary to switch uniforms with a competitor from a different country. And I think, man, that's really cool. It also bums me out that I'm like, I kind of wish I had my Team USA uniform. Like it's cool to put on like Team Guatemala, because I have one of those and I'm telling you, it's like my favorite uniform. Right. Even Canada. Like Canada's got some cool uniforms too. But
they do. There's a cool this year too.
I do really kind of wish I had another Team USA uniform. If I would have been smarter at the time, I would have just bought 2 Team USA uniforms, right? 100%. Right? That way I can be like, here, now you can have this one and it's not sweaty. There you go. Congratulations. Right?
Yeah. So I never did that. I would trade my warm-ups or t-shirts.
Never trade your uniform, huh?
Yeah, I never trade my uniform so that way I could say, you know. But I would trade like I would trade I would get it. I would trade like a warm up top for like a t-shirt or something like that, just something different. So that way I still had things. Yeah.
No, I think that's right on. Because if you think
Things were
about
like
it,
cooler
like
than they used to be though in the 90s and 2000s. They weren't as cool back then.
I think that's
You know,
also the case. But even if you
I
think about it going into it, you are hyped up. You are so pro country, and you're like USA, USA. The thought of switching, you're giving away your uniform, would be so crazy to even let that thought enter your mind. So,
right.
like, you don't think about it until like, even though you know, like, you already know it's a thing. It doesn't even enter your mind until you literally see it happening. Then you're like, oh crap. Damn, is there anybody from Scotland here that has my size?
Right.
Because Scotland's got some cool looking uniforms too. I'm going to say that, but they only had like 4 people compete the times when they would go. So, yeah, there's been some cool uniforms. What other country that can you think of that maybe no one's thinking of that's had some pretty cool ones?
Oh, uniforms?
Yeah,
I mean,
different events or things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think countries, that's hard to say for me. I mean, I don't know. I just think usually like the Italian ones are always clean and they just look good, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, you know, there's just
They
something
should just
about
get
that.
theirs made by Fila.
Yeah. There's just something about the Hungarians. They always have something that just looks cool. So, but
You know, there's some that have, and I'm not gonna, be shy about it, that don't really have great looking uniforms. All right, this is very ironic. I was actually wearing it earlier this morning. I was wearing an Team England T-shirt, like a warm up shirt, and that is dope. Their uniforms stink, right?
Yeah,
they were just. I'm like, this is literally just a blue box, right?
Yeah,
this is nothing. I'm so glad that he didn't offer to switch the uniform with me. All right. I'm like, sure, here's the t-shirt. Yeah, I'll take that dry fit thing. This thing looks dope. Right.
Listen, I'll be honest, the old school, like it was, you gotta look at it in context though, but like
what?
Seriously, like a white pullover, Taekwondo top with Atomics, red, white, and blue pants. Looking back at it, that's the most silliest team uniform ever, right? But back then, it was probably cool.
Because of what year was that? What, 95? 4?
No. Well, it was
3?
like that for like, I think it was 92 or 91, 93, something like that.
Oh, then it would be way more popular. That's when Zubas were a thing too.
Right. I mean, Atomics was on top of the world. So
oh my gosh, yeah. I had plenty of Atomics gear. Heck yeah.
So some of them were kind of, and then I think one year they were fighting with the red, white, and blue, but it was like a tie over top. It was kind of, it was a little rough, but yeah, I mean that's the fun part of like world championships and things. But I gotta tell you, man, the way that Waco does it, it looks professional. And also, I'm gonna tell you, at Brazil, the WKF Pan Am, same thing. Everything was professional, and it was just awesome to see. And they do the same thing. As soon as that division's done, they cart you over there. They do the whole presentation with the medals and everything. So, but yeah, Leandro, that's how we started off this conversation. We actually started with the WKF Junior Pan Ams, and we're talking about some of the winners. So, we're going to get into that as well. Let's get into a little bit, because I didn't want to bring it up completely, but I do want us to talk about just some of the different people that had big weekends. We get it in one of our divisions. We had Xander. We also had Picky that were gold and silver in there, and that was really awesome to see that happen. For those, I'm sure there are some other ones that I didn't necessarily see, like, because you got to remember, for junior worlds, there's a lot of the younger ones, the 11 and unders, the 7 to 8, 9-year-olds that compete as well. You have Laco Villanueva that brings several amazing competitors that won medals for the forums, as well as low kick light and continuous, semi-contact and point fighting and everything. So, and then you got to give a shout out to Damon Rodriguez, El Java. Those guys were doing amazing out there as coaches. And we're also going to, of course, we're going to, in a second, talk about two other coaches that I think need some love as well in a second. But also, you're talking about, let's just have this conversation. I told you, Sophia got a bronze, and some of her wins were by 10-point spreads. She had a great weekend. She won. This was in, I think, the 16 to 18 division, 8-year-old division. She was 16. The rest of the ones that were on the medal stands are 18. She has a bright future in that. When I say this to you, your first response, wait, she's more of a forms competitor. And I go, no, she's not. She's an all-around martial artist. And I could pull up to you that she's probably the most successful junior competitor in the U.S. right now and in ASCA. And I pulled up and showed you how she probably hasn't lost it all. She, has done this and that. And so this kind of gets into the whole thing of, and you're like, yeah, but her best thing is forms. Maybe it is.
And I think
that's just what we see. It's not her fault that the fighting isn't publicized or focused on as much, right?
So, and here's how, and in case you guys ever see it happen live on the show, here's how you can know I got in the conversation. Because when we were having this conversation, I mean, I wasn't like heated or anything, but I am like, no, I'm right. And when Jeff said that, he's like, no, that's just all you see because that's all they showcase. So I had this pause, and then I look up and to the left, and I'm like, okay, I think you got me right there. Right. And yeah. I think that's totally it. And tournaments do want to, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Okay. So I'm going to pause, but I'm going to say it and then I'm going to go right out of there. Okay. Tournaments do want to start highlighting more junior fighting, and they want to try to make that part of something that, like what I just said. Listen, she's just probably more of a forms competitor. And where you were just saying there's no showcase for her for fighting. Yeah, we get that. But they get in their own way, because if you want more of something, you have to take something else away. And they don't want to take anything else away. Right. And listen, I've been saying this for too long, and I'm going to say it one more time, and then we're going to get right out of there. Your grand championships are not grand. Right. In fact, I would be getting to the point of, I don't even know that you can call them championships. They're just divisions at this point. And it's not the fault of the competitor. It's not. All right. If you keep splicing it up, like, you're a grand champion, you're a grand champion, you're a grand champion, you're a grand champion, and we're all the same age and we do basically the same type of thing. Well, that's not so grand. Right. And if you want us all in all of those different divisions, and you want us all competing and performing in the nighttime finals, and you want it to be a big performance and you want to highlight it, well then, man, this is going to be a 17-hour finals. This is going to stink. Right. Which is what happens. So then they go, yeah, I guess we can't have this 2-minute point fight. Wow. Priorities.
Right. Well, yeah. And usually it's the fastest, the things that take the least amount of time that actually get cut, right? Again, with, when we're talking about Korean Challenge and things, that does not take long at all. That literally is the shortest thing there is, right? There's things like that. So, definitely agree on that. And it's funny, we're talking about WACO, where it's kind of like the opposite, right? The forms is kind of hidden, and I mean, it's not hidden. They take it. It's the only thing going on. So there is that highlight for it. Right. But it's still not the same, as the fighting there, which, and that's fine. What's great about going to a WACO event, especially like a World Championships or Nationals or something where they have everything, is that you really see that, especially for the outside looking in, the natural progression, the tatami from point to light to kick light to in the ring sports, and then you going all the way up to American style point fighting. I mean, kickboxing, to low kick, to K1, to to Muay Thai. Like it's great. You really get to see that progression. And I think, we would love to see more of that in the States. So,
well, you know what I think is interesting, and in some European, I don't, it might be all, Waco events, they don't have things that are mandatory in their performances for the finals, right? They might have gold medal matches for the seniors, and they're just like, yeah, we're not putting this in the finals. So you're going to fight here. And you might go, what the heck's the deal? Why not? And they'll go, because we're going to have it for a set time. And if we're going to have you fight for the finals for your gold medal fight, or Timmy Sarantudis, I'm sorry, Timmy is fast as shit and he's exciting to watch. You're not as exciting. And they'll just say it right to your face. And what are you going to do? Say you're more exciting? You're not. Timmy's exciting. Timmy's fast as shit. That guy's amazing, right?
It's pretty cool to see how they do that. I don't even think they did a finals this year for it, unless I missed it. Well, I don't think so. But there's just a lot going on. It was pretty cool, man. A couple of people that I feel like from these two that we have to get some shout outs and give their flowers to are two coaches, one on the Waco side and one on the WKF side. And that to me is Bill Viola and Jarrett Liker. So Jarrett Liker is someone who obviously coached so many great people on NASCA and changed the way that traditional forms, Japanese forms were done, and created that whole pattern. And he still has people that are doing it there, but he's also done a great thing of taking those competitors and taking them to the NKF, the USA NKF, USA National Karate Federation, into the WKF, which is the World Karate Federation, and taking them to that level, while also doing the opposite, taking people that maybe went from, that level of just being traditional karate and taking them to NASCA and doing both and showing, that crossover that it can happen. He is the coach for, a lot of these competitors that were there on the junior team, as well as, of course, a number of other great ones that were there as well. So,
I know it's interesting. And I was just thinking about this when we had, I really enjoyed the show that we had Jarrett on when we went over. Listen, we just saw karate in the Olympics, Jarrett. Did it go down the way it should have? And he's like, yep, it did. And let's talk about how and why. I thought that was a fantastic show. What am I looking at here?
Yo, Leander just sent me like a picture of like beef ribs right now. So he's cooking.
Was that a pig or was that beef? What was it? What is that?
Beef ribs is what he just
okay.
had,
It looked like a pig for a second. It was just the glare.
I love it when insiders send me stuff. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, with that.
But I was thinking like it was great. I just thought that was fantastic to have that dialogue because, like what you just brought up, I mean, he's been doing this for a while now. It's about 15 years that he's been deep into this, and he was able to get to listen. I'm not competing at that level because I mean I would have had to have done it so many years before, and I'd need to be basically Ariel Torres's age to be able to do that, and he's not. But listen, he's in it. That's why when we were wanting to have someone on to talk about that, Jarrett was the guy, But think about it, man. Did we miss something? Should we have had Arlene on to talk about Taekwondo this year?
We've done it before, though.
I know we've done it before, but it's the Olympics. What are we gonna do? We should have done it. We should.
I know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right, and then to another person who, man, I just think we got to give him his flowers. He had two people from his school that medaled, but we're talking about someone like Bill Viola, who's been around for a super long time, with his dad competing from the late 80s all the way into the 2000s, was a great competitor, was a member of Team Metro, was on a lot of, great teams, but had an amazing run with his school and with people that he's coached back to AAU karate, to the USA NKF, to NBL to NASCA to WKC to Waco now, right? And I don't know if I'm missing another big league, you know, PKC. I mean, there's so many ones where he has had successful people and him be the coach for all of that, right? And so you got to give this guy just so much love. And right now he's doing a great job leading the way for the tatami for Waco USA. And you know, this
He's
that
pretty
first
heavily
year
involved.
that he's out there with that, and you know, had his students out there competing. You know, his daughter gets a bronze, Xander gets a silver. You know, and was a part of the silver medal for the Team USA for the team fighting. So a lot of great things that he's involved in, and you know, they'll be in Portugal with an even bigger crew in WKC. You know, in next month or this month. No, next month.
You know
Sorry.
what's
So,
one of the things that's interesting about Bill Viola, because he also, you know, ran the Kumite Classics for so long, and he had so many different things. If you guys have ever been in the Kumite Classics before, it was like an event to go to. Literally was an event because there was so many different things that happened there. But when I look at Bill, and sometimes Bill, this is a compliment, okay? Sometimes when I look at Bill, it doesn't make sense to me because I understand Bill's a little bit older than me. I've just gotta be, right? It's gotta be just like a couple years older at least, right? To me, Bill still looks like a guy who's 32 who literally just came off the golf course, doesn't he?
Right.
He just literally like, didn't you just? I thought you just had an early lunch with the guys from the office. You just came off the golf course. This is literally, you look like your name's Todd and you work for Northwest Financial or something like that.
He doesn't look that much older than when he was in the Britney Spears video, you know, like it, you know, so.
What did you just say?
So if people don't, I had to throw it in, he's going to kill me. But so Bill was out in Hollywood for a while, all right, to be like a model and stuff. So
he was in a little more sense. He does kind of look like he would fit in the Abercrombie ad.
Yeah. So he was
he was in an Abercrombie guy.
He was in a Britney Spears video, music video. Yeah. So it's the dude doesn't look that much younger, you know, that much older, sorry, than when he was that. All right. Yeah, stronger. It was stronger.
What was that? What, Kanye's video? No,
stronger, like the Britney Spears, like I'm telling you, like
that
Britney
song.
Spears back. Yeah, that song. Yeah. So yeah. So we're gonna have everyone searching it. You have to. Like,
I'm gonna search it after the show for sure.
Straight on. You'll have to really like search for it and stare at it and go clip by clip because the way the video was. But it's definitely him.
somebody search for it and then give us a timestamp as to where it is. Leave it in the chat.
Oh, it's all over the place. I did this recently.
I'm totally gonna look for it. But so what was he? He was a backup dancer?
Sort of. He was just more like I guess like a background. He was like, there was like a bar scene or whatever. He was in a club scene. So
he was a pretty guy. It kind of checks out. This is the thing. People don't get it. Listen, being fit and being in shape and being attractive, that can be a big plus in life. Yeah. So much about being attractive is just being healthy and doing what we do. You're just healthy, right? Yeah. So, all right. I don't think I would have ever made that, but all right, that's fantastic. Look at that resume.
Yeah, man.
You know,
man. So it's pretty awesome. Just both those guys again. Give some guys some hand claps because I think we need to make sure we do that for, you know, because we've talked a lot about Java and Damien and those guys, but we need to give some credit to those guys as well. So to Bill and Jared. So awesome. All right. This next part, this should be fun. Which one do we want to focus on? I have these 3 topics. Remember, I have the region one, I have the aspects of kicking, and I have the areas people need to focus on.
Well, I got something I want to bring up to you first.
All right, let's go.
I was literally thinking about this. And what's your take? Okay. I don't know. Can you hear anything different in me right now? Can you hear like in my voice?
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah. It's a little.
Oh, you can.
raspy.
Okay. I'm trying to make my voice sound as normal as possible. But if I just let my voice go to what was comfortable, I would drop like 4 octaves, right?
Okay.
It hurts, man. And so, what was it? On Saturday, I'm doing a gig and I was just on the mic a bit more than I typically am, and we were having a great time. Problem, I had another gig Sunday, so yesterday, and I'm like, well, this one and this party, oof, they needed it, and I didn't really have it, but I had to give it to them. So now I sound a little like I do right now, which is rough. When I remember competing, and when I was in high school, all my friends from school knew when I had a tournament the day before, because the local tournaments were always on Sundays. So they knew. They would be like, oh yeah, well, clearly you had a karate tournament and screamed your face off. Because that's what would happen. I'd have a karate tournament, I'd lose my voice.
Yep.
3 weeks later, karate tournament, lose your voice. Karate tournament, lose your voice. What's your take? How do you handle that? How did you handle that? And then does that happen to you anymore? Hasn't happened to me in a very long time.
All right. So here's the deal. Yes, it happened all the time. As a kid, even probably up until about, I don't know, a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell. And again, guys, it's not just from us yelling and competing, but also from you cheering on your teammates, right? Because my brother would come to the tournaments, not compete, and lose his voice from cheering everyone on and being around talking to everyone and that. And then they would ask him to sing the Star Spangled Banner that night, and his voice would be gone. So yeah. So yeah.
I mean, really,
but
here's the deal. If I could just have it to where it's like, this is it. My voice is now this. I just sound like Mike Welch. All right.
right.
Well, listen, Mike Welch, his voice just sounds cool, but it doesn't change. His voice doesn't go up. His voice doesn't go down. Every time you hear Mike Welch talk, it sounds like he lost his voice that morning. Right. But that's just what his voice is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so can I get some
kind of
tips?
cool. Yeah.
Can I get some tips that
Trust me, I want to hear them.
Some nutrition things that have helped me over the last years not to lose my voice. So one is don't wait until you lose your voice to start having honey and tea. Do that as a normal thing. Okay. So for me, I have tea every day, herbal tea. Okay. So that's a key thing. All right. Also, having things like lemon water throughout your week before the tournament, that helps. Having honey, like a small, honey now is known as a very healthy thing, right? Before it was like, oh, that's sweet and all, no, if you have good organic honey, like a small little tab a day, it's great for your body. It's great for you, for your energy, but it's also good for your voice. So do that. Of course, like most people know, stay hydrated with water, but you got to have a good electrolyte. Okay. So if I have in the morning before I wake up, I'll have my electrolyte it's again for me, an organic electrolyte that I'll have in the morning, and then I'll have it in the middle of the day as well. And when you're competing, normally you just need one a day, maybe 2 if you're very active, but in a competition, 3 is probably fine. All right. That's what helps you stay hydrated and everything else. The more you're dehydrated, the more you are losing things like copper and salt and your magnesium and things like that in your body, because you need all that in your body. That's when you start losing your voice and you're getting tired and you're exhausted and you don't have the extra boost, right? A lot of times when we think, all right, when you lose, we just go right to hot tea and lemon and honey, which is great, but we use it as like almost like a Band-Aid instead of starting from the beginning, right? So say, all right, I'm going to be prepared for a really hard week. So I'm going to start now, the Monday of this, and start, taking, for me, I do 3 3 times a day I do barley. Okay, so it's a barley mix
Barley,
that
like in
helps
beer
with.
barley?
No, no, no. Well, okay, it is in beer, yeah, but it's it's a mix. It's pretty much, I guess you would say, like a greens type mix, but it's mostly barley. Okay, barley
Okay, I'm following.
is great for reproducing your damaged cells. Okay, so when you travel to a tournament, you're on the airplane, you are away from the ground. I'm going to sound like a hippie right now, but you're also around all these EMFs from the computers and the cell phones and everything else and all that. Your body is deficient of a lot of different things. Okay, so the barley helps with that, reproduce those cells. The electrolyte does that as well. So you're exhausted and tired, but you can make it happen. I'm just going to tell you, at AmeriKick, all I had was a banana the whole time. I did 14 forms in that day. All right. But I had my electrolytes and I had those things that kept me there. I wouldn't suggest that. It was just no way for me to do that. And I still had my voice by the end of the day.
How do you eat anyway when you're at a tournament? I don't know anybody who can like eat normally.
No, it's hard. It's hard.
Tournament. Nobody really can. Like, what do you do? Sit down and, have salmon in the middle of the day, right?
Right. Some can.
And that's true.
It is a muscle. You got to train it like that. That's key. I think if you're a martial arts instructor, most of the time you're learning how to do that as you're teaching, unless you're a very boring instructor and just keeps everything monotone, right? But if you are able to like, all right, everyone, let's go. Next one, go. Like you're doing that every day, but it's all
in your throat and in your head. You got to talk in your diaphragm.
Exactly, and you got to learn how to do that. So I think teaching
like
classes
Japanese, is a great thing. Talk from diaphragm.
Yes, exactly. So I think teaching classes is a great way to build for that and to train that. So yeah, so there's a couple little tips.
You also listed up more organic ingredients than I've ever heard, right?
And that was only a little bit. I have a lot more things. So
some of those I've had.
This week I'll go to my natural health.
I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, it's all good.
Straight. I'm gonna go back and listen to the episode. And we're like, what did Jeff say? Let me get my pen. All right.
There's a lot of stuff.
Now what Christy's saying, whiskey. Nah, I'll have that. Jeff, I don't.
What?
You ever have somebody give you some bad advice and sell it a certain way that made you feel like, oh man, yeah, that's a great way. Listen. So there was a student of mine. This was probably, I don't know, 22 years ago. Okay. And I'll never forget this time in my life. I was sick for 6 days straight, like not leaving my house. I would love to get out. I'm in my early 20s. Like I should be able to get shot and still jump up. Right. So I'm not. So she is from a border town in Mexico. So it's like, that's where she's from. So everything is tequila to her. Right. So she's like, why don't you just have tequila? And I'm like, this is the worst advice I could have ever heard. Like, I literally can't keep water down. You somehow came up with this thought in your head. Hey, have tequila. I need electrolytes. I need everything you just said. Like, I need to replenish a lot of stuff. You're wanting me to drink something that would deplete myself of everything. She's like, but you're sick. I'm like, yes. She's like, but you have all this like sickness inside. And you have this bacteria. Doesn't alcohol kill bacteria? Like, what? Yeah, but that's a different type of alcohol. She's like, no, but it will. Like, once it's inside you, like, you don't just start slamming it, but it's in there. You let it slowly, let it just into your system, and then it will kill that bacteria. So just every now and then, throughout the day, just sip a little shot of tequila. And after the day is done, you will feel better. And she said it in like a certain way that I'm like, you know what? Throughout the day, like 4 shots of tequila, that's not so bad, Yeah. So like 6 shots later, and I'm Remember, early 20s. Nobody in their early 20s knows how to drink tequila anyway, right? Wow.
No.
The worm. Blah. I did hear this, though. I did hear that if you're going to have any kind of alcohol, which is not healthy for you, tequila is the healthiest. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Wild, right? What did he say? Oh, hang on. Okay. See, it's because Kristen couldn't find it either. Dang.
He's got bleach blonde hair, so it's a little different it's very fast. You have to like pause it, so it's just the way the video shot.
What year was that? That must have been like 2001?
It might have been 2000, maybe 99, something like that.
Yeah. The ice tips. Yeah.
Yep.
So it probably looked like Justin Timberlake at that time.
Yeah. So the idea that alcohol like kills bacteria and that makes sense to some of it, but there's also you're killing the other bacteria, the good bacteria you need that's fighting off those things. So that's what people forget about. It's the same thing with medicine too.
Anybody who wants you to do something bad will sell it a certain way.
Don't maybe get started.
No. They're just mushrooms, right? Yeah. They give you psychedelics, but it's from the earth. It's not a big deal. Like, oh, I guess just mushrooms. Here, let's have a bag. Like, what? Are you out of your mind?
All right. Which one we want to do next? The kicking talk, the region.
Let's do the kicking talk.
All right. So here's the thing. What are aspects of kicking people are not focusing on? So, and this actually will go into my other thing that I was going to say. What areas do people need to focus on outside of moves? So I'll let you start first. Since
I have a really, mine's pretty simple. Because I think anything kicking related that you really want to dive into, you can make as deep a conversation and as complicated as a conversation as you want to have. And I always want to have those conversations, but I also, you have to know your audiences sometimes when you're if you're talking to like a red belt, you're like, all right, well, I can't get that deep because you're starting to understand this, but if I really dig that deep, it's just going to go so over your head. Right. So let's take it more broad terms. What are aspects of kicking that people are not focusing on? I'm going to say kicking with both legs.
Okay.
Kicking with both legs is so vitally important. Okay. If you want to list like the best kickers that there are, all right. So let's go with some of the best. People argue Pedro Xavier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm not arguing. I'm saying it's Jason Borelli, right? Both those guys can kick with both legs. They can do every kick that has ever been created, and then they also create their own. Okay, both sides. Pedro, I feel like, was more of a threat to do this because of the era in which he was fighting the most. That it was more common for guys to switch.
There was more back leg kicking too. There was more back leg kicking then too.
You're right. But a lot of that is also from what did we see a lot of? We saw a lot of Boston Taekwondo. So you get some of those guys, you get the Bradys out there, which I'm telling you, when I would train with the Bradys, when I would train with Donald, and Donald is a fantastic kicker, but he'll be the first one to tell you he ain't Pedro, he ain't Jason, right? He ain't Preston, right? But I didn't know what to expect. All right. Like he could literally just give me a fake, and that fake might have meant anything. That fake could have meant a back fist. That fake could have meant a rear leg inside crescent kick, right? Because because he'll do everything, right? So like I have to be ready for everything. If Ross Levine gives me that same fake, it's either a rear hand punch blitz or it's a front leg side kick, right? That's what it is. Okay. I got my hand up. I'm not worried about if it's a back fist. Okay. So if I get this fake, it's going to be one of those two things. Now, Ross is way more successful, right? So that's why when it's like, all right, I'm going to put my focus on these two moves. And yeah, those are if you're only going to focus on two moves, those are the two best, right? However, I remember just feeling like I don't really know what to prepare for when I'm training against you. I couldn't imagine competing against Pedro or really what the fighting was at that time on a consistent basis. I brought up Reggie Perry as well. So guys who were able to switch, right, and be as effective and as efficient, it's so rare, right? I totally feel the only reason Justice Lawrence is not one of the, if not the greatest kicker ever, is the amount. You just didn't see him as much. Because I think if you'd have seen Justice competing consistently for like 4 years, like nonstop, both circuits, the championships are going to be won because nobody knew what the hell they would look at him and be like, oh, okay. First time I saw Justice fight, I'm like, oh, he fights with his left side forward. Because that's what I saw him do. The next day, all right, he had to fight Elias Lemon. And I might have told the story before, and I went up to Elias. I'm like, Elias, you don't got to worry about this guy. You're longer than him. You're probably stronger than him. Plus, all those spins, all those axe kicks, he's on his left side. You don't got to worry about none of that because he doesn't have that angle with you because he's on his left. He's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Bow, puts his right leg forward. And I'm like, wait, what's this? Very first move, boom, axe kicks Elias in the face. And I'm like, okay. Next move, spin kick right to his chest. I'm like, oh, I am a bad coach. Right?
He's a different level, man. He's a different
I was
level.
a horrible coach. I totally just sold him down the river. Right? So, but the guys like that, I really fully believe that is a big reason why. But people feel passionate, really passionate about only training with one side, or we need to train for everything. And listen, we're not halfway martial artists. We're complete martial artists. Even if all you do is forms or all you do is fighting, let your body be equal on both sides. Okay. It is really easy to just go, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. I can just do this side. This is so easy. Right. Yeah. And when people let you just let things go easy, if you're unchecked and unaccounted for, your skills will decline 100%.
Right. All right. So on my thing on this, and this could be a forms thing, but I think it's for everything. And I think the part that people forget is chambering, mostly rechambering. Of course, you got to have a chamber. This, though, starts from the ground up. Honestly, if I could, and I do this sometimes, I would just have people learning to chamber for 2 or 3 weeks before they even do kick, because to me, it's that important.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you have to learn how to get it in a position, one, which we talked about when Katarina was on. I do a lot of the same thing, having that foot in front of you, right? And as a forms kicker, I don't think of myself as forms kicker. I'm a martial artist. I'm a martial arts kicker. I'm doing this, and I want everything to make sense when I do it on stage, or when I do it in a fight, in a point fight, or in a street fight, or kickboxing, right?
But sometimes you call yourself that just because you know people call you that.
Yes, exactly. When I put my chamber up, my foot needs to be there. It has to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. So training your chamber to where your chamber, the resting position, is the highest position you can go. If you can rest at the highest position, then it's going to be so much easier. And when people learn how to throw it from here instead of here, it's so much faster and quicker, right? Now, there is something to throwing it from the ground up too, because it's a straight line, the quicker.
Yes.
But that's based on scenarios. So you need to learn both, right? The other thing, though, is understanding what to do with your chamber. Have an active chamber. That's truthfully hands as well as feet.
Right.
Too many people just have their hand here and just punching this way without a pull back and activating that. And it's the same thing when people return their kick. They're just dropping. You see it a lot in jump kicks, probably more than anything. We're seeing jump front kicks. People just drop their leg instead of recoil, land on that back foot, have their leg there, and then attack, right? And what's really cool is like when I throw my side kick and I rechamber, I want that rechamber to be as fast as my kick went out, because guess what? It has to get back. So now I can use that to attack someone behind me who I just kicked and go to my next target, right? So there's so much to it. That chamber is still a weapon. It's not just something that the weapon comes from. Your chamber is a weapon. And the more that people can see that, the more you're going to stand out in your forms.
I agree with everything you said. You know, but what starts racing through my head, and I know that you know somewhat how my brain works now.
Yes.
Because sometimes I'll just shoot you random texts. I remember one time I sent you one and you were like, the hell's wrong with you? But and I start thinking about some of the, you know, old school guests that we've had on, and we always had champions on. So when some of the things that when we would talk to them, that they would tell us is, you know, when I would train with this person, you know, when I would, you know, after a tournament, I would go to this area of the country, I would train here, and they taught me how to do this.
Yeah.
This just, it doesn't always have to be like a one-on-one, you know, private lesson. Sometimes just being like, can we just do sections together? If you're running your forms, can I just train with you? Man, you learn so much. Dude, I only did sections with Anthony Murata 3 times, right? And we trained together. I remember in detail every single moment of those training sessions. And he was pissed off at me, right? Because he realized how much more serious he took it than I did. Our first training session, he was pissed off. And I had to like promise him that I'm going to take it way more serious the next time. Otherwise, he wasn't going to do it again. Right.
That's
just
awesome.
Little things. Right.
Yeah.
But, or even just like when you talked about like just shooting, like with basically no chamber, just from the floor to your target. Listen, dude, I had done martial arts for almost 20 years before I'd ever done anything like that. I'm going to go train with Conroy. And I'd never done a side kick without a chamber before. And never did I dare say this, but in my head, when he was telling me to do it, I'm like, this is stupid. Why would you do that? This is so stupid. Just go, like, you just get jammed, right? I don't have tree trunk legs. I can't go from floor to there. Like, there's no way, right? But I'm never going to say that, right? I'm going to do anything he asks me to do. And Nikki Pelland happened to be there, and he's just like, oh, I'll just show you. This is what I want it to look like. And Nikki did it, and I was like, never mind, foot in mouth, right? Because it just, I was like, oh, I get it now. There's no room for this person to move. And then I started going back like, oh, shit, that's why Hamid would always do that to me. That's why this person. And then you start realizing like, oh, because then you start when you think you see something, when you don't actually see that, you're really seeing something else. But then you have these training sessions with just someone else like, hey, let's just get together. Let's do some of these training sessions. And then you realize like, wait a minute, you're actually way better than I gave you credit for. Right. It's interesting. I'll give you another example of that. There was a brief little time where I got to train with Avery Plowden on a somewhat consistent basis. It was almost weekly. And this is when he wasn't kicking a lot, right? And at the time, I'm like, you're so much better at kicking than like I would give you credit for. Like, do it, you know? Do it more, right? Like, why are we not seeing it at that time? Like, he really, he's a great martial artist, so he's kicking. Now he kicks way more than he did at that time. But in my mind, I'm like, holy crap, you're way better than like in my mind I gave you credit for, right? And he would never call himself a kicker at that time, and I don't think he ever will. He's a fighter, but yeah, I remember thinking like, all right, this is different, you know. But then there's guys like that you train with, and you're like, why do you not win?
Yeah.
You should
Exactly.
win all the time. Yet you show up and you just get smoked. Like, listen, I'm gonna say it right here because Mike's in the chat. His son Miles, I'm not kidding you.
You've said that a lot. Yeah.
I've said that before. From end to end, when Miles decides to blitz, you can know it's coming and you can't stop it. You can't. It's that freaking fast. There's few blitzes I have experienced that match that speed. It's crazy.
Right.
Anyway, moving on.
And to me, there's so many forms competitors that watching them train, and you're like, whoa. And then when they get to the ring, it's just the nerves or something stops, and it's, man, like, you're in 4th or 5th place, and you should be 1 and 2, or you should, you know. And there's a lot of that, you know. And so I think actively training the way you want to perform is key, but understanding how to train your mind and your nerves and the things that I was telling you about, so even stuff that I've been doing this for 36 years but on the NASCAR circuit, 30 years. This year is my 30th year, right? Since I started my first as a black belt, all right? As a black belt.
Yeah, that's when it counts.
And really, like, putting it all together, there's still things that I'm still learning and putting to now, like having a better plan, you know, really taking care of my body and my health and the nutrition and sleep, things like that. I think we continue to learn that, right? And you got to continue to learn. You can't act like, oh, I've done this forever and whatever. I've always done it, you know. There were some things I used to do as my tournament or pre-finals things that I would never suggest anyone to do. And there's a reason, like, I never do that anymore because of how stupid I was. And I regret some of those things because I thought, oh, well, this will help relax me. And I thought that I'll be fine. Now I go back and I'm like, you know what? Like, you just wasted 20 years of, you know, imagine what you could have been if you didn't do that, or you took this a little bit more serious, right? So there's a lot of interesting things like that, you know, with that. But everybody learns at their own pace, and there's a reason why you go through those things. Is to make you who you're supposed to be, and take you to a place to inspire different people, you know, and to be around the people that currently you are, or who you're going to see in the next few years in your future. So it's exciting, man. It's been a blessing. So, all right, man. So we're going to take this region talk next week, and we're going to talk some things about which region has the best fill in the blank. All right. And we may get into some international stuff, but we're going to talk about, you know, the United States and maybe Canada, you know, and Mexico as well. But we're going to talk about that next week, and then we will let you guys know. As far as we will probably have some type of guest as well at some point next week too. I'm looking at my calendar. When is it? We have all right. So
a couple of
September 16th. September 16th, we will have Hector Santiago Jr. Okay, on the show. So a lot of my old heads are going to want to be on here for that. 80s, 90s, 2000s. You guys that are still new to the sport or current, this is a person you want to be and listen to, as he was a junior competitor whose, you know, parent was running a team, coaching a team. He went from a competitor, the team. He went from a young competitor who was innovating things. Again, I will still say he did the first Cheat 720 I've ever seen. And then was an amazing fighter, went to become like the talk of the fighting scene his first 2 years as an adult, you know, fighting with amazing competitors, but also, you know, coaching now, being a boxing trainer, you know, doing things like that, you know, what he's done with helping his sister become a great professional fighter. So many things, so many stories. So it's going to be a fun one. So that will be September 16th. So we still got.
I'm really looking forward to that one. So we've got a few things that we're going to bring up, and who knows? It is possible we have a surprise guest. Who knows? All right. Things happen. Yeah. But so how many weeks we got before the Diamonds now? We got 4 or 5.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 weeks before the Diamonds.
5 and a
right?
half. Yeah, yeah. Because Diamonds will
It's a
be
big
because
deal.
that's 5 weeks to the 7th. So that was that weekend. So yeah, 5 and a half. So
It's a
looking
big
forward
deal,
to it,
guys.
man.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna be there. I told you, I'm gonna be there. All right, third shift DJs. We're gonna be rocking the after
Oh,
party.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Alex
yeah.
the after
And you know
party.
what? You know
So
what I was thinking about this,
yeah.
Jeff? I was like, when I saw the DJ last year, I'm like, this guy sucks. Your gear sucks. Your song choice sucks.
Poor guy.
This sucks. Why? We don't need this. But then I started to get nervous, and I'm like, well, shit. I started thinking about like DJs that we know that we've seen in that scenario. I'm like, I'm not as good as Nick Schneider. I'm
Right.
not that good. Like, am I as good as Joey Greenhaw? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just like not wanting to leave any of the parties that they were rocking. I mean, like, I'm having such a great time. Like, I don't want to leave. Like,
I'm gonna
I
tell
don't
you,
think I
I
can
don't
live
know,
up to that.
I don't know who the DJ was back in the day for all the Diamonds parties when we were juniors, but those were the most rocking parties ever. Ever. I'm talking like 98, 99, 2000, 2001, like, 2002, I think.
I
Oh
can't.
man, they were just
I
so
remember those as well, and I
yeah.
remember being out there, and I remember having a great time. And I couldn't tell you one thing about what that dance party was like, other than we just were having fun. So
Yep.
I think I think we were the fun.
We
I
were
don't
the
think
fun.
DJs were the fun. Right?
What's funny
Sometimes
is
I'm
that
not the fun. Sometimes the party is just they've just decided they're going to be fun with or without me. You know what I mean?
Well, see that back in the day, so we're getting a little long about this, but the actual party was in the same
Yeah.
venue room that the Friday night fights and everything was in. So they took the stage out. So you're talking about a big facility. And what
Yeah.
was cool was that all the like you had at that point all glass and you could see out to the city, which was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So
And St.
that,
Paul's
that
a cool city.
yeah, it was cool.
But no, but I'm not that worried because I mean,
2014 was pretty crazy. Yeah, that was a good one.
I didn't get to meet the fellow from last year. I just know that it was all right. Listen, when people came out and they were ready to dance, he led them off with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it was slow. It was
He
and it wasn't. I wasn't
literally
talking
led them off with a slow song to
Yeah.
end the night.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? Like, I actually wanted to stay. I wanted to see his set. And he was basically like, no, get out. My set's going to be so bad. You want to leave. And I'm like, what? I want to stay. But you're that. Oh,
I remember us
yeah,
having this conversation. We want to stay, but dude, this is bad.
yes. Right.
Oh,
But I'll be okay if someone can come up to me and they can be like, hey, Alex, you suck. Okay. Thank you.
figure it
I'll
out.
work hard. All right. But it'll be a great time. I hope to see everyone there.
Yes, sir. All right. See everybody next week. Let's go.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your Labor Day evening. See you next week.